Oh my God, it's 2020. Happy New Year. I hope your January and your February was awesome. I hope you had a great gardening year last year. I don't remember where I left off. Yeah, it's time to start for the new year. I guess I'm not really ready to start gardening yet per se. I'm not gonna plant anything in this video, but gonna do a little recap of last year, things that went right, things that went wrong, and what we're gonna be doing this year. I'm starting my prep, and I did some stuff over the winter, so I'll fill you in on that stuff. But just generally, we're getting going for the year. It's exciting. The big thing is I don't really plan on doing a lot of seedlings inside this year. I did a ton of seedlings last year, and I would mostly consider the whole thing a failure, except for the tomatoes. But even with the tomatoes, I felt like the last 3 or 4 weeks of them, 2 or 3 weeks of them being indoors in the garage, they just were fully grown and ready to get in the ground, and it was not doing me any favors anymore. So I am going to do tomatoes, seeds, indoors, seed starts, but probably not till early March. Our average last frost date here is April 7th. And last year I was very, very on it. I put everything in the ground outside on April 7th. We did not have a frost after that, but I came to realize I didn't need to be exactly so on it. And I probably could have actually, some of the seeds I could have started in the ground a little bit before that. So we're going to try things a little bit differently this year. We're going to do most of our seeds direct sown into the planters and into the ground. We're going to have an in-ground bed this year, which is another big thing. We will do some tomato starts. But yeah, just taking a different approach. So it's, I've been getting antsy. I want to get going, but also my electric bill was through the roof keeping the garage heated last year, which was really dumb. So I just don't feel like I'm going to do that. Watch a lot of James Prigioni videos, and he's a big believer in direct sowing. And so that's what I'm going to try this year. But in the meantime, I've got some prep to do, and I want to show you some stuff that I'm thinking differently about last year and some stuff we're going to do. So let's go wander around the various places we grew last year and talk about what's going to change. One thing that was a pretty good success is that I kept growing 4 different very large basil plants down in my home office under a grow light all year. I use this LED grow light, which means they're inside a space that I was already heating, which means I didn't have to pay for additional heat like I did last year. Successfully kept myself in basil all year in my stir fries, which I use a lot of basil in, some Genovese, some various Thai and Asian basils, and it worked great. On a timer there and just an LED light. I didn't love it being on the floor, and this is in our basement, not anywhere near the kitchen. So a little out of the way, but I am proud this worked, so that was one success for the year. One thing I'm not gonna do this year is any gardening on the porch. Right there is where I had my green stock planter, and I don't think you can see it, but the thing was so heavy it actually put an indentation in my composite hardy plank, which is not super awesome. I might, maybe just parsley, sage, rosemary, thyme, basic herbs right there so it's near our kitchen. But by and large, I'm not growing anything here on the porch this year. This is where I did my tomatoes last year. And it didn't work. I mean, it worked, but then they got eaten by squirrels. So we are completely redoing this. And we're going to be doing our main gardening, rather than on the porch this year, in 2 different places. The first, you can see right over here, is that we now have 5 birdies beds. One right here, that'll trellis up the porch for the cucumbers, and I will screen it. And then 4 over there, that is the place in my yard that gets the most sun. That is south, so they get sun all day. And that is where I will put most of my garden. The basils, the peppers. Some of those are going to get hoops on them for netting to keep the squirrels out, for the beans, things like that. Yeah, that was a pain. I took all the soil that was in all my containers and I put it into these 5 birdies beds, and I got some cover crop. Just bought some Johnny Seeds cover crop, 5-pound bag, and got some cover crop growing in them all over the winter to just get some more nitrogen in the soil. So, you'll recall last year, the 2 birdies beds were right here, and I moved them over there. Woo, over there, along with new ones. And I have 6, only 5 are built. But anyway, right here is where the 2 were. They work great, but yeah. So this dirt is awesome. I planted, you remember I did an experiment and I planted tomatoes right there. They work great. Aside from getting eaten by the squirrels and the deer, the tomatoes work great. This was my winter snow peas, and they went pretty well. I had this sort of makeshift cage for them, but they still got eaten. I did get a few peas. It was the best I've ever done. But yeah, that worked okay. So you'll remember last year in the middle, maybe the early summer, I panicked and I built this hoop house, makeshift hoop house with these cheap hoops from Gardener's Supply, and I threw everything in there, and it actually worked great. I was getting, wow, even now, the onions are still growing, and the spinach is kind of still growing. I was eating stuff out of this till December, and then I messed up and I didn't cover it before the snow. We had 3 heavy snowfalls in 3 weeks, and it killed all my lettuces, but I was really eating garden until September. These are all my grapes and blueberries. The blueberries already bouncing back. Ooh, over there. You can't really see that yet. But anyway, the hoop house theory worked great, and it worked into the fall, into the winter, and I could have made it year-round if it had a better roof. So I have, you can see this is a pretty janky hoop house to begin with. But it did all right, and it was a really great proof of concept. So we had 2 good, giving ourselves some credit, we had 2 good proofs of concept last year. The hoop house was great. Kept the squirrels out, kept the deer out. I grew a lot of stuff in there. It was awesome. I could probably eat some of that spinach right now. I could definitely eat that onion right now. Yeah, no complaints. And then the tomatoes I planted in the ground right there also worked great. So what I've done this year is I've purchased 2 much larger, sturdier hoop houses that are 8 feet tall, and they're going to go right here. It's a little unclear if I'm going to need to cut some of this lawn off. I've got a rototiller. It might be a nightmare. I've got the dirt coming. So that's where the bulk of my gardening will be, besides what goes into the birdies beds. Anything, birdies beds, over here. Ooh, hoop houses. Water supply is in that corner. We will get, I swear to God, this year is the year I'm going to get my irrigation working properly. I have all the bits and bobs and faucets and everything. I'll get irrigation to both, and that's the plan. So in the hoop houses, in one of them, right down the middle at 8 feet, I will do my tomatoes, and I will use the hook system, and I will do that whole thing, and it'll be great because that system worked great and I really liked it. And I will plant lettuces in the ground on the sides, and spinach and beets, and I will maybe fill this one with some rows. So I got a bunch of containers and cloches in here that I will also use and sprinkle throughout. Anything like lettuces, things that could be covered in a cloche, in a whiskey barrel, that sort of thing. I will try that as well with those whiskey barrels and cloches, but by and large, the bulk is going in these, which I will cover with hoops. I'll use those old hoops right there, and netting like I did on the peppers last year. That worked great. And 2 big hoop houses right here. So that's the plan for this year. But there's a problem. In the old days, when we bought this house, there was a path from right here, from this door in the basement, came right here and right there, and then through the yard to that path there. It goes down to the pond, and it was a rock path made out of yellow pebbles. These yellow pebbles. And this dirt is good, and I'm going to be tilling it and augmenting it with new soil, organic compost, amendments. You're gonna make really good dirt. But underneath, right here, in this path, and somewhere along here, are these pebbles. There's also a layer of mulch. So I'm going to need to get this whole hoop house gone. And then I'm going to need to scrape off the mulch. And then I'm going to need to dig right here until I get to the pebbles. And I'm going to need to take the pebbles all out. The pebbles will go over there on that path there that goes to the compost bins. But that is the prep I need to do before I can actually grow anything. Then next week, the dirt will be here. I can get the hoop houses built, hopefully this weekend, maybe next weekend, TBD. And then I can lay down the dirt in the 2 hoop houses. But I did the measuring, and I think they will fit right here. But we won't know for sure until we do it. And that's what all the prep I have to do before I can actually garden. Along with, of course, these birdies beds. We'll need this stuff sort of cut up, pulled up, left in there as nutrients, but then added the new soil when it comes, along with amendments, some crab and lobster, some blood meal, that sort of thing. Get these beds prepped. So I've got to do all that in the next 2-3 weeks. That's what we're gonna do. So right now I'm gonna start dismantling that whole thing and getting a rake and seeing if I can find the yellow rocks and start removing them. I learned a lesson with this netting. It is good, focus on it of course, but it's not big enough in its loopholes to let the bees through. So I had some problems with pollination. So my new stuff will have bigger holes that is explicitly made so bees can get through, but squirrels can't. So live and learn, live and learn. It kind of feels like a waste though. I'm sad about that. All right, so some of this spinach is miraculously good. Survived 3 snowfalls and months of frost, so I'm actually gonna harvest that. There's a few of these onions, a little bit more sad, but I'm gonna harvest those. And then all this organic material, we're gonna compost. And then we're gonna try and save whatever mulch we have on top, because we're gonna use this cardboard mulch again. I shred my own cardboard to make my mulch. It's a lovely video about that, if you want to see that. Someday I'll learn how to do that magic, put it in the corner thing, but today is not that day. And then my grapes and stuff need to get, and that blueberry need to get placed back in there. Whoop, whoop, winter, spring places along those posts. So we're gonna do all that, clean out that one there, and get this ground relatively ready. Here we have Compost Bin 2022. It's going great. I haven't been using the thermometer on this one. This is the leaf mold compost. I filled this up to the top again this autumn with leaves, shredded leaves that I picked up off the grass. Don't worry, I left plenty of them on the grass for mulching. But it has been, look at that, slowly turning into compost. In addition, at the bottom of this is last year's. And then we got this awesome pine needle mulch at the top that we'll take off. This is just, the pine needles are just coming from the pine trees that I have right here. It's kind of an unfortunate situation, but it works. I decided to stop tarping. I'll just take those off before I use the mulch. But yeah, and then these are the yellow rocks. All these yellow rocks have been moved from a path that used to run right there. And this area gets really wet still. We have this mat here. All the water leaches out of the compost and was getting the path really muddy. So if I can get more rocks, that'll be great. It is getting moss from both sides right here. This really sexy mossy trail that is just fantastic. It stops here. It would be years. You can see it's growing in there. Some zoom. There is moss, but I think it's gonna be a long time before it fully covers this path. So I'm using rocks in the meantime, which is a little iffy. But over here, this 5 years ago when we first did all this, it was all rocks, no moss, and the moss is slowly consuming the rocks. And then someday I'll probably just take a shot back to it and get the last of the rocks. But I'm not even sure there's gonna be any rocks to put here. But yeah, this is the problem. I thought about mulch, because there's got these bare spots. And it gets really wet, but my wife put that mat down for me, and it does do the job right now. But I think if we get a few extra of these yellow pebbles today, we will put them here. So, Yes, this is all the compost I just got off the tops of all those containers and our kitchen compost. So we're gonna put it in the compost bin and turn it. All right, so somewhere in here, there is yellow stones, like those yellow stones. There's a path, it goes right there. I think I'm gonna take this rake, I'm gonna start raking, because I gotta move the mulch off of it anyway, and I'm gonna see if I can get to the path. You can see right there, there's some rocks. I think the path goes right there. So we're gonna dig and try and find that, scoop all that up, put it in the wheelbarrow, if we can find it. Let's do it. Oh, how our past sins come back to haunt us. There it is. Now look, 5 years ago when we bought this house, and I thought to myself, I know what I'll do. I'll just bury the rocks. I don't need to take the rocks out. I'll just bury them with mulch. It'll be fine, I said 5 years ago. But here we are, and you know, it's unclear how thick it is. It's pretty thick. I mean, I don't think you could, wait, that's like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 inches there. So, you know, at first I thought maybe I could, it'd just be aeration. It'll be fine, I can grow right inside of it. I just don't think that's the case. I think all of it needs to go. Also, you may be wondering, as you watch these time-lapse videos today, why is that dude doing all his work with one pant leg rolled up and one pant leg rolled down? And the answer is, I don't know. But I have to bend over to fix it, and it's kind of comfy. So, that's what's happening. We're moving rocks over here, and we're gonna put them all here. It'll be nice. Yeah. There's a lot of dirt in this, but I think it's gonna be good. Jane is coming. We are going to rake this out into a new path. There she is. Yay, hi Jane. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen to this. I like to think it will turn into gravel and that the dirt will dry out and turn into sand and then wash away as the rain comes. We'll see how it looks in a few days, maybe next week. But I needed to put it somewhere. And this is one spot that I definitively know I'm never growing anything. I could use some rocks, so that's what we did. We are winging it. We watched a lot of YouTube videos this winter of people winging things. I've never been much of a winger, but I'm winging it. So then, there remains the outstanding question of what to do here. We got a lot of these rocks out, but there are undeniably still a lot of rocks. That, underneath the rocks, is the native Piedmont clay to our region. You can see through 10 years of mulching, we have pretty good like compost, like good soil above it. So all of that will be good soil. But you know, and then I'm gonna add, you know, 6 inches to the rows where the tomatoes are. So I think about 10, 12 inches of soil. It's pretty good, but I am a little worried. I wanted originally to try and till this. So there's really kind of 2 questions. I still have a lot of rocks. I guess I'll shovel out 4 or 5 more wheelbarrows tomorrow of this stuff here that's got a little bit of rocks in it. Get down to the clay. Then I think I'm going to take all that dirt and till it into this soil and build this soil back up to that height. Then we will rake the mulch off of that part. And then I think we are ready to build the hoop house. The question remains, do I try and till what's underneath there to this? I just have a small little tiller. We did do it when we planted these lawns. The back half of that lawn we planted. Got topsoil, tilled it in, so now it's doable. But I need to think on this for a day, so we are going to pause today. It's almost dinner time. And think on what we've done. You think on what you've done, Rick. You think on what you've done. And tomorrow we will continue this journey and maybe getting the rest of these rocks out. I have to consult with my wife. I'm thinking maybe I put them over there on top of the septic tank and then cover it up with pine needle mulch so nobody ever knows. And we'll figure it out tomorrow. So, talk to you then. All right, it is the next day. We've done some thinking, we've done some planning. We're going to get rid of the rest of these rocks here. This side doesn't really matter because this is going to be where the hoop house begins because I got a tree here, so I can't go really much further than that. And then I'm going to get rid of another foot or 2 of this. Then all these remaining rocks in here. My wife says this clay will till if it gets wet, so hopefully today, but maybe tomorrow, we'll till the clay. Wet it down, till it. I got some clay breaker over there, and I will add that dirt in and till it all together. Some rocks will be okay for drainage, but really we're just gonna get started shoveling more rocks just like we left off yesterday. Let's do it. Have gotten almost all the rocks done. Mommy's coming down in a minute, Jane. I got out my little crabgrass weeder and I tried this. And it kind of works, but I've already dented the tines and I think the tiller will work. I could do this lightly. I don't know, I started debating that. It's almost lunchtime. I need to get this really wet. Well, I guess we'll let that soak for a while. Put some more water in, have lunch. Try the rototiller on it. Feels like it's just getting rid of the dirt and leaving me more rocks, but I don't know. Also, we gotta go because Jane is crying. What's wrong, Jane? Anything's wrong?
Nothing seems wrong.
Nothing seems wrong? that is done. 4 passes of tilling. Tilled the clay, added some garden gypsum, not near enough, but it was all I had. Had that from another project. Some vermiculite. Of course, it's got a little bit of the rocks remaining from the path. And then I added a bunch of garden soil from last year, potting mix, organic potting mix. It's been used, but I think it's still got a lot of nutrients in it. And then I added a good amount of my leaf mold compost. So this is really good. Now, bear in mind, this is going to get at least 6 more inches of soil mounded anywhere that the plants are planted. So the next step, we're going to have 2 beds right here, about 5 feet each. And I need to rake, I was doing a test right there, rake this mulch away. So I got to clear all that stuff out and rake this mulch away so that I will have the whole thing. I may even do 1 pass of tilling on the whole thing. That's TBD. But yeah, let's move everything into the raking. I think our area is prepared for our hoop houses. Now, we've got them over here. Well, I am happy with that. Still need to tighten up all the nuts and bolts. And then, of course, I have a whole second one to build right here. But it's dinner time, so I think I'm going to go to dinner. It's crazy how easy those are to get into this uncompacted soil. And this soil, that used to be the path, is so compacted. It was so hard to get those in. I still haven't got that one all the way in. There was a dirt rockway there for 5 years. Before we buried it, and then we left the rocks there. So, 1,000 pounds of rocks compacting that for a decade. It's pretty rough. But, I think it'll work, and it looks like I'm only using a little bit of it here at the end. So it'll be an interesting A/B test on the tomatoes, which are going to go in this hoop house right down the middle. So it'll give them 8 feet, and I'll get 9 feet row of tomatoes. And then in the second hoop house, I'm going to do 2 rows, one on each side, of probably lettuces, spinach, things like that. I don't know. I may actually put all the grapes in there and let them climb on this for another year, because I'm really torn about where I'm going to put my grapes in the long run. But we will worry about that later. Dinner time, and then tomorrow we build the second hoop house. Hello, it is the next day. Got a 4-day weekend. 3 days in the garden. Today's the last day. My wife has convinced me to order 1 more of these. I have 2. There's 1 there. And I was going to put the other one right here. But now we're thinking, we're going to put 1 right here. So I'll have 3, which is going to be awesome. So I ordered that this morning. Also, I had this brilliant idea that I can put birdies' beds in them. So I got 1 more birdie's bed over there. Whoop, orange box. And I can put it inside. I think it'll fit right here, like this way. If not, I could put it a long way. I'm still sort of debating that. I'll lay it out and kind of check. But that's pretty cool. So I ordered 1 more birdie's bed, a long one, to put widthwise in one of these. And then I'll put like a bench or something. I don't know. It just seems like it'd be kind of a clever idea. But really, it's the last day of gardening for this weekend. So I want to get the second one of these that I do have in my possession, that brown box, built. And I need to tighten all the bolts on them. I haven't tightened anything yet. And then I got a bunch of cardboard to shred. I need to shred a ton of cardboard because all of those containers and these and everything is going to need mulch. And I use cardboard for mulch. So hopefully I get to that as well today. But let's build another Maxi hoop. I think they're called Maxi hoops from gardeners.com. Let's do it. Could it be neater? Yes. Is it neat enough? I think it's pretty close. The instructions said 2 people strongly recommended, so I took that as a personal challenge, and I did it myself. So, yeah, that's done. There will be one more right there. And I know it's a little confusing because they're all 3 feet apart, but this is the walkway between the 2 of them. There'll be one there, entrance is there. You can go in. This will be the tomatoes. This will have a nice long birdie's bed there. Stuff trellising up. Maybe a bench on this side. And there will be another one right here, which will have a birdie's bed in the back and some other stuff. So it's very exciting. Hopefully that one will be here by next weekend. I don't need to put the covers on until I'm planting. The dirt arrives next week, so that'll kind of be the next thing. I've got some other stuff too. I really need to start shredding cardboard, so we're gonna go do that. This project's done for a week. So here's the thing. I hate my cardboard. I hate using so much cardboard. I hate having so much cardboard. Every garden blog and news site and everything tells me you can use cardboard for mulch. Watch any video by any expert gardener and they're like, you can use all sorts of things for mulch. And then they list cardboard. Now, do any of them ever actually use cardboard for mulch? No, they don't. One guy, Black Gumbo Southern Gardening, he made some very good points, and I used to work in offset printing, so I already knew this, but, people complain and worry about the inks on cardboard, and it's all soy ink in the United States, so that is fine. And I don't know if you could see, but I meticulously took all the tape and adhesives off of my cardboard. That's a whole separate question about the ethics of recycling cardboard that is basically not cardboard because it's covered in adhesives, but that's neither here nor there. That was going to go into recycling anyway. This stuff, though, is just paper and soy ink, and it should be fine. Now, if I die, you can blame it on all the rock star gardeners on YouTube that tell you you can use cardboard for mulch, but never actually do it themselves. But I'm here to show you I didn't die last year. I didn't get sick last year. So here we are again. We're gonna need, I think, 7 or 8 buckets of this stuff, maybe up to 10 to mulch all 7 birdies' bed. Yeah, I love my cardboard shredder, by the way. There's a whole separate video of it, but that is the shredder. Look on my channel, you can see the review of it. It's awesome. And that's about it for the day. It is time for dinner, and I hope you have a lovely time gardening this year. Talk soon.